When we sit back and wonder, why is it that Americans continuously vote against their interests? Why do they continuously support policies we know that are no good? Look at healthcare. Healthcare should be a slam dunk for Medicare for all. It is perfectly understandable why Americans are misinformed. And Chuck Todd gives a perfect example with his interview with Mitt Romney today when they discuss Obamacare, when they talked about Medicare for all, when they talk about the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, and what he didn't ask.
You won election in Utah on the same ballot that a majority of your constituents wanted to see Medicaid expanded. What would you do now with health care? Would you scrap the system we have and build from scratch? Or do you take the Obamacare infrastructure, which many will note was modeled in some ways off of what you did in Massachusetts, and try to reform from there?
Obamacare applies to about 20, maybe 25% of the population, because for 75 to 80% of the population, we get our insurance through our employer or through Medicare or through traditional Medicaid.
Immediately, right there, Chuck Todd should have interrupted and said, that is not an accurate statement. Specifically, Obamacare does not only affect 20 or so percentage of the American population, it affects 100% of the American population, because within that one bill takes care of children at 26 years old can be on their parents' insurance. Now you cannot be rescinded. They cannot remove your insurance. There are a whole lot of things that apply that Obamacare brought into existence. Chuck Todd never checked him there. So you have 80% of Americans thinking that because they have employer-based health care, that everything is okay. What they don't know is by removing Obamacare, that health care that they have from their employers or otherwise become suspect.
I think what you're going to see from Republicans is a federal-state partnership where the federal government sets the parameters and the states are given more flexibility to create ways to care for their own low-income individuals. And I think you're going to see proposals coming from our side that say, look, we can make the current system of private insurance, which 75, 80% of Americans have. We can keep that in place, get costs down, more flexibility, and Obamacare needs to be repealed. And by the way, the Democrats agree with us, because they're calling for Medicare for all.
Oh, they're calling for Medicare for all. We want to keep the private health insurance companies healthy, according to Romney, and by the way, according to a whole lot of blue dog Democrats as well that don't want Medicare for all, they claim, oh, we want to keep the private insurance companies in business. Let's remember something very important. Republicans were in total control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency for 2 years, and they never made any attempt to do anything as far as reducing costs. So the question should have been from Chuck as well is, why didn't you do anything while you were in complete power, or even attempted to do it, even though you didn't have a veto-proof Congress? But guess what? Even veto-proof Congress wouldn't have been the problem, because when it came time to assign the Supreme Court justice, one of the most important offices, you simply broke the filibuster. You could have done that for healthcare as well.
I want to ask you, though, about the Medicaid decision by your constituents. The legislature wants to tighten what your constituents wanted. Is that the right call?
Well, the legislature in Utah said, look, we want to make sure that if we're going to expand our Medicaid population, we're going to only do so long as the federal government is picking up 90% of the bill. But if the federal government decides to back off that 90% number, then we, the state legislature, don't want to pick up the bill.
A Republican state, a red state, said, we want to accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, the Medicaid expansion to Obamacare. And the legislature is trying to back off of what the people voted for. And here is Romney. This is a religious man. This is a man that cares about people. This is a guy that cares about humanity. He said, well, you know what? What they're doing is very logical, because think about this. The federal government decided to charge us more than 10%. Then we want the option to simply say, Utahns, go to hell, die. Chuck Todd never checked him on that. And these are the things that we talk about. They never check on these guys when they make these comments. Why should the federal government leave it at the state level when we know that the states are saying, well, if we don't have the money, we'll just let our citizens die?